Hey, what's up, productivity junkies? Darren Persinger here. We're talking about ROI, talking about how we're spending our time, talking about how we're spending our money. And today I want to walk you guys through an exercise that I call tic-tac. And we'll get in depth with it, but there's worksheets down below. You'll be able to print these off. You don't even need to opt in, none of that stuff. I want you guys to have this information because it's valuable. But the thing that we're going to be looking at today is how much of an activity, how much does doing something truly cost us? Because when we're looking at our ROI, we can't look at, all right, I spent, $2,000 to run that print ad. There was time involved to meet with the advertiser, to take the photos, to send the photos. If you're doing all that stuff yourself, there's time involved, and you have to factor that into the ROI. Otherwise, businesses would be sunk if they didn't look at the cost of their marketing director on implementing a marketing tactic, but they're not taking into account the salary of $75,000 that they're paying them. Do you see what I'm saying? Like that just would not make sense. They're like, okay, well, that marketing blitz that we did, that campaign cost us $50,000. No, it didn't. It cost you $50,000 plus the time of your marketing person to implement it. You got to factor those two things in. So what I want to walk you through today is this activity to get very clear, and this is the only way that you can truly measure ROI, your return on investment. Investment is your time and money. So let's look at this. So the first thing I want you to do after you have those worksheets printed off, do this with me, figure out your dollar per hour. Now in the last productivity nugget I factored in $100 per hour. I will say, as I said in the last video, when I do this live, I usually get some people in the room say 100, a lot of people will say 200 because they're probably at 100, but when I feel like it's 200, and then a few people will say 400. By the way, the people in the room that say 400, I truly believe them. They're leveraged out, they're building a real business. So put whatever number it is for you. Maybe it's $50, I'm not sure. I think if you're not doing $100 an hour, you're probably in trouble because there's just some expenses that are going to come out of being in this business, right? So let's factor in $200. I get that a lot in live training classes, that people will say my dollar per hour is $200, Darren. All right, fine. So let's measure $200. Then primary activity, I usually let people shout this one out too in a live training class, and the number one thing that I usually get back is expired listings. We'll go through that, but you can do this for any exercise. So this is where you can measure out, what's my ROI on expired listings? What's my ROI on for sale by owners? What's my ROI on open houses? What's my ROI on using Twitter, on using my Facebook page? Factor all this stuff in. Do this exercise for every single one of your activities so that you actually know how to measure this. And I have in the worksheet too a thing called the business audit that I would say do at the end of every month, quarter, and year, so you know exactly what activities you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. All right. So primary activity. Let's do expired listings, for example, here. Calling expireds. All right. So when I'm going through the live training class, I say, all right, expireds, that's your primary activity. What sub-activities are there, and what are the costs of those sub-activities? So people will say, lead generation, prospecting, calling people on the phone. So that sub-activity number one right there, let me switch over to another marketer, thinking about business, right? Switch over to this blue one. So sub-activity is prospecting. And usually what I get back, again, factor in your own, but usually what I get back is they'll say about 3 hours. And by the way, this is just to schedule an appointment. This is the cost of taking a listing, not to actually market it, because that would be a whole other activity, right? The cost of marketing and holding and selling a listing. We're just going to take getting a listing by calling expired. So prospecting, they'll say, Darren, I can usually schedule an appointment for like a total, if I'm really on the phone, truly for 3 hours, I can schedule one appointment. Fantastic. So we got 3 hours right there. What's another activity that you have to do then? Well, the listing presentation, okay? I have to go out and do the listing presentation. All right, so how much time does that take? Well, my listing presentations take anywhere between an hour to an hour and a half. Cool, but we got to factor in the drive time out, the drive time back. That's cost of time. So maybe this is 2 hours, okay? So then sub-activity. Well, in order to do the listing presentation, you needed to put the listing presentation together. You needed to do a CMA. You had to get all that packet together. So how long does it take you to do a CMA? I get varying things back from this one. Some people say 15 minutes, some people say 2 hours. So we'll say 1 hour, CMA. Again, add in your number, what makes sense to you there. I get a lot of variables in that one. So then sub-activity number 4. What's another thing that you do when taking the listing? Well, if I did take the listing, then I have to do the data entry. I have to take photos, get it uploaded to the MLS, all that stuff. Okay, so photos and data. Okay, how long does that take? Well, that could take 2 to 3 hours. All right, so we'll put in 3 hours. Drive back out, take the photos, do the data entry, upload everything, and get it out to the websites. Your listing's uploaded. You stop there. That's the cost of taking a listing, not the cost of marketing a listing. That's a whole other exercise, keep in mind. So what is your TIC, your time invested cost on this activity? Well, you have 5 hours and 6 hours, 9 hours. 9 hours of time invested into taking one expired listing, okay? So then the next thing that you want to look at is the cost of each of those activities. Well, the sub-activity, the prospecting, you take the 3 hours and you multiply it by your dollar per hour value. So then you have $600 to $400, right? 1 hour of doing the CMA, putting the listing presentation together, getting it to look good, getting it ready to go out and present. So $200 there. And then the photos, data entry, getting it uploaded and marketed out, another $600 there. So your total, the TIC stands for, let me jump over here. Your TIC stands for your total activity cost. That's your TIC, all right? And so your TIC here is $600, $1,000, $1,200, $600, $1,800, all right? So the total cost to take an expired listing would be $1,800 in this scenario. Then what you can start to do to break this down is you multiply, you take how many expired listings did you sell last year? How much revenue did that generate? And so let's say it generated $50,000 of income. Then you also do this exercise for the cost to sell a listing, and you figure out what that cost was. And usually, then you have the ROI. So the cost of taking and selling, what does that equal out to? If this number is not greater than this number, or if this number is greater than this number, you should stop this activity, right? You have a negative return on your investment. Again, you can break this down for using Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and your social media and doing your video blogging and stuff like that. So in this scenario, maybe this is not the best activity for you to be doing. Now there's a couple things that we can do here though in order to increase your return. There's a couple things. Let's go back and look at this. We can either decrease our prospecting time, which means maybe we get better with our scripts, or we leverage in some marketing. So now we have to factor in the cost again there. Maybe we get better at doing our listing presentation and shortening down that time. Maybe we outsource the CMA. We have someone else do the CMA for us. So this saves us an hour plus $200. And then we have someone else do the data entry for us and the photos. So check this out. If we were to outsource this, if we were to find a virtual assistant or hire an admin person to do this, you eliminate these 4 hours of activities, which would cost you normally $800. You take these 4 hours, reinvest them back into prospecting and doing the listing presentation, you're going to double your business right there. You take these 4 hours you just saved, reinvest it. Now what's going to be the cost of that VA? $10, $25, even $50. Let's say it's $50 it's going to cost you. So that cost is going to be $200, but you're spending $800 because you're doing it yourself. So really, you're saving yourself $600. You see how I got there, you guys? This is why it's key for you to know where you're spending your time and your money, the return that you're getting on activities, and do you need to get more skilled at the activity? Do you need to eliminate the activity, or do you need to delegate the activity? I hope this gives you guys some clarity on ROI so that you can be more effective in your business. Thanks for joining me on this one. We'll talk to you guys soon.